Hello friends, how are you doing today? So in this video, what we are going to do, we are going to take the compute services in each cloud service providers category. I'm going to start with AWS first. In AWS, we will take only the compute services category and see what are all the individual services available in the compute service category. Okay, and then we will take each service and see the meaning of each service, and also mainly importantly we will see how that is used in your real-time scenarios. Okay, so you can go and look into the documentation of this AWS and prepare for your exam. That's all different, but in this video what we will learn, we will see where exactly practically these services are used. Okay, that's very important when you are working as an AWS solution architect, right? Okay, let me start sharing my screen. Okay, as an overview, I just listed out a couple of questions like what exactly the compute services are and why these many cloud service providers are providing these compute services, right? That is one of the questions that we need to understand. And how do you look the compute services for your business use cases? So when you take compute services, you may have a lot of business use cases for your organization, right? And you have to be wise and intelligent enough to choose right compute services for your organization. Okay, and also like as a startup, what cloud compute service providers best fit to me as a startup? We can see the answer for that as well. And also as an e-commerce application, what clouds compute services are good for us? Okay, and also like do I need to know all the cloud services provider services? We will get the answer for that as well. And how can we wisely choose the cloud service providers? Okay, so keep focus on the video, and we'll see like what are all the services available in AWS Compute Services category, and you will always get to know about answer for all these questions while I'm walking through. Okay, um, moving on to the next slide here. What I logged into AWS console and clicked on compute category, and I got all the services available in the compute category. One is that AWS App Runner, Batch, EC2, EC2 Image Builder, Elastic Beanstalk, Lambda, Lightsail, AWS Outposts, and Serverless Application Repository. Okay, these are all the services available in AWS Compute Service category. Okay. Um, so let's see how these services are used in real-time scenario. You are working for an organization. That organization may have the cloud migration strategy, and they may have or explored all the services available in AWS and other cloud services as well. But knowing about each compute service category, and also like how this is applicable for my organization. Suppose if I'm in the beginning of cloud migration strategy, whether this service is useful or not. Okay, all those things you will see here. So let's take AWS App Runner first. Okay, so AWS App Runner is a service. It's available mainly for all the organizations whose web applications can be uploaded into AWS, and it can be accessed through HTTP or HTTPS protocol easily. For example, you are building a web application for your automobile company. Okay, you have automobile industry and you want to provide repair services for all the cars and bikes, right? And you may have a web application and you want to post that web application in AWS cloud, and you have to open that access to this web application to HTTP or HTTPS. So in that case, what you can do, you can use AWS App Runner and deploy your web application on the AWS cloud and provide access to the customers via HTTP or HTTPS. Okay, this is very simple and easy compute service. All you need to do is just upload your front end and back end web application into App Runner and run it and provide the access URL to your customer. Okay, and moving on to the next service, AWS Batch Service. Basically, batch means what? It's a bunch of services, right? Normally, you may not come across this kind of scenarios if you are working for a small service company or product company. But in case if you have a chance to work for any research organizations, right? For example, medical science research organization, any chemical industries, or these industries, what they do, um, at the same time they run multiple experiments with different combinations, right? So they may need a bunch of compute services for them to run multiple instances of the application at the same time. So for that, what you can do, you can go ahead and spin up this AWS Batch Service and configure the job, configure the queue, all those stuff, so that the scientists or research organizations, what they can do, they can spin up the list of instances immediately and start using as a batch. Okay. And the third one is EC2 Elastic Compute Cloud. This is quite common in case of if you are beginning your journey with any cloud service providers. What you will do, you will first start exploring, creating a machine, right? Machine of your choice. Suppose if you want to create a Windows machine, or if you want to create a Linux machine of OS type, okay, and create and run your application, simple application, and experiment it, okay. And when you get matured, start using the EC2 instances, you will pick the EC2 instance specific to your requirement. For example, you want to run a game application, right? And you need a high CPU, high GPU, and also high memory, right? High RAM and storage capacity, all those stuff. In that case, you will have the benefit to pick the application accordingly, okay. And uh, fourth one is EC2 Image Builder. So what exactly the EC2 Image Builder is? So you started using EC2 instances according to your need, right? And you will get into that mode of start using EC2 instances for your requirement. And when you have a matured level of using EC2 instances, and when your organization have some specific requirement, for example, you are developing a gaming application again, right? And you will complete developing the gaming application, and you test it in your lower environment, and you will reach your infrastructure team asking help to set up the right infrastructure and also right image or EC2 instances for running your gaming application, right? So in that case, the infra team has to go and build the right image for your application to run fine without any disturbance, right? So in that case, you can use Image Builder to pick the configuration of your CPU, memory, storage, everything, and then build your image of any EC2 instance type, and then start using the EC2 instance for your application. Okay. Here I just gave an example of like you tested your application you're on-prem with a machine of like 16 CPU and 8 terabyte memory and storage of 80 terabyte, and now you need the same configuration in AWS. So what you will do, you will build this image, right, with the same configuration, and start using that machine for your application to run. Okay. And moving on to the fifth service available in the AWS Compute Service category is Elastic Beanstalk. So what is the real-time example for this Elastic Beanstalk? You are assume that you are an organization, or I'm coming to your real-time organization where you developed a web application by using some UI tool, AngularJS and Java, the middle layer, and you wanted to deploy that application into AWS cloud, okay, in quickly, like you just built the WAR file inside your local machine, okay. And the Elastic Beanstalk, what it will do, it will help you to just upload your WAR file from your machine, where your Windows desktop or Mac or whatever you built, you just upload using this Elastic Beanstalk and leave it. That's it. And configuring and running inside the web application, web server, everything will be taken care by Elastic Beanstalk. So if you are beginning the journey of any AWS cloud migration or cloud migration in general, you can just explore Elastic Beanstalk in AWS and similar service in other cloud service providers, so that you can quickly see the cloud migration benefit of running your application inside the cloud. Okay, so this is a very simple compute service where you can just upload and leave it. Rest of the things will be taken care by AWS. Okay, and the sixth one is Lambda. So Lambda, normally when you learn Lambda in AWS, what you learn is you just learn it as a serverless, right? So in practical scenario, the serverless will come into picture only for the infrastructure service providers in your organization. For example, this system admin, right? You will, as a developer, what you do, you will not dig further more on the provisioning of services with a scripting mechanism, right? All you need is you need to know about one particular environment where you can run your application and develop your application, whatever you do, right? But Lambda, basically, think about a system admin who has scripting knowledge, right? And instead of provisioning machines one by one manually, that person can write a shell script and then execute the shell script. It will provision the instances automatically. Okay, and also you can automate provisioning of your machine based on your parameters. Like, for example, when the CPU increases to 90%, spin up another virtual machine so that the load will get distributed to that virtual machine, right? So this level of provisioning the machine without a manual provision, with a script level of provision, is called the Lambda. So mostly as a system admin, you do this kind of work so that the provisioning is serverless. That's called serverless provision. Okay, rather than provisioning manually, physically, you can just make the AWS infrastructure capability to provision the services for you just in a click of button, and also configured with a required memory and CPU in the script level. Okay, and coming to lightsail, so basically it helps your application to get containerized. Suppose if you are an organization where you are running your application as a standalone in your Linux server or Windows server, and you have not gone into the containerization mode yet, and you learned the benefit of containers and containerization, and you wanted to run the application in the containers, right? So in that case, you don't need to learn more about the containers and understand, set up the container environment, set up the cluster, all those things you don't need to do. This lightsail will help you to run your containerized application very easily in AWS of your OS favorite. Okay, suppose if your container is with Windows OS, and if your container is with Linux OS, this lightsail service will help you to just run the containerized application of any OS nature easily with few clicks. Okay, so basically, when you will come into this situation, I explained earlier, right? When your organization wanted to move your application in containers and run it in the AWS cloud, but you don't know anything much about the containers. Okay, so in this case, the lightsail will be the right size for you. Okay, and the AWS Outpost, as the name suggests, Outpost means like it's outside the AWS. Okay, but still it is an AWS. So when your organization will come into this kind of situation, let's say like your organization has like few hundreds of applications running. Okay, and you decided to move some of the applications into cloud, and keep some of the applications inside the on premises based on the latency criteria, right? Suppose if your application is a low latency application, that means like the response has to come very quick. There should not be any latency getting the response when the customer sends the request to the application, right? And if you put that application into AWS cloud or different region, and you may see a little latency lagging, right? So what you will do in that scenario, you keep that application running in your on premises, and rest of the applications who don't need the latency criteria, you can just move it to the AWS cloud and run in any of the regions, right? And the applications which are kept inside the on-premises infrastructure, you may feel like that application also needs to use AWS. So in that case, uh, this AWS Outpost is a best fit. Okay, so what you will do, you will spin up this AWS Outpost services, which is kept inside your on-premises, and it will you will get the UI and services categories, everything similar to your AWS console, which is available in the cloud. But this actually AWS Outpost, it will not be available in your AWS cloud, but it will be available in on premises with all AWS features. That's the beauty. Okay, and also it will help you to maintain the hybrid cloud nature. So why hybrid cloud coming into picture here? Because in this scenario, what we saw, your organization has few hundred applications, and you kept the low latency applications in your organization, and moved the applications which are not importance with the latency, you move to AWS cloud, running it in the multiple regions, right? And you need to communicate between this category of on-premise application and also the AWS applications, right? Application running in the AWS. So that brings the hybrid cloud nature of your environment. So for that, AWS Outpost is the best fit. Okay. And the last service in compute service category of AWS is serverless application repository. So this is one of the best services for any enterprises who has like a few hundred applications or few thousand applications running. So normally, if you take an example of an organization who has more line of businesses, okay, so if you take banking application, they have the customer line of business, and also they may have the um, digital customer line of business, and they may have online customer line of business, and also they may have a mortgage line of business, all those stuffs, right? But for applications of all these line of business, there may be some of the applications quite common. For example, authentication authorization. Okay, so the authentication authorization application is common for all these line of businesses, right? So in that case, this serverless application repository, what it will do, uh, in your organization, when you develop serverless applications by using the Lambda features or any serverless application feature, and you create a GitHub repository and store it in some place, right? So this serverless application repository will help you to maintain the common application which is used across multiple line of businesses, so that every line of business can just go and start using that for their own purpose. Okay, so this is a serverless application repository. Okay, so that's all about AWS compute services and how they are used in the organization in real-time scenarios. And if you have any questions, just post in the comment box below. We can discuss more about these services. And also, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. We can discuss more about all other services and other cloud service providers as well. Okay, similar to this one. And just wanted to share one more thought here. When you learn for any exams, right? AWS Solution Architect Associate exam, or AWS Solution Architect Professional exam, whatever it may be, along with your documentation preparation, keep in mind that you have to learn the practical usage of all these services. Okay, and if your organization is using any of these scenarios, it's well and good. If not, no need to worry. You can just uh, discuss with me. I can share my experience, and as you guys are all contributing this channel by commenting and talking about this concept, we can all collaborate and learn together about the practical scenarios, something like this. Okay, that's all, guys. Today, take care. Bye.